Pandora is launching Pandora Stories that combines music and the spoken word in a, quote, new format. According to TechCrunch, the format is playing music and talking in between. A bit like, music radio. Podcast host Art19 has hired 2 executives from Stitcher as part of an expansion plan. Corey Kalesa is the company's new COO, and Lex Friedman is joining as Chief Revenue Officer. The company is planning new advertising products. Cadence 13 is switching to Megaphone by Panoply. They previously used Art19 to host their podcasts. In HotPod, Nick Quah suspects this is a sign of a hosting shake-up to come. An event in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, which therefore I will pronounce entirely wrong, the Oorzaken Festival. On the 29th to the 31st of March, speakers include Scott Carrier, home of The Brave and This American Life, and Chenjerai Kuminyaka from Uncivil and Seeing White. There's an industry day as well. Google Assistant's voices are getting an upgrade in most countries. You can find out more on the Google developer website. Here's what they currently sound like.
Aspects of the Sublime in English Poetry and Painting, 1770 to 1850.
And here's what they're going to sound like.
Aspects of the Sublime in English Poetry and Painting, 1770 to 1850.
Edison Research has given a sneak preview of one slide of their infinite dial data release next week. This year, they say, for the first time ever, half the population is using YouTube as a music service every week. You can register for the free webinar. There's a link in our show notes and in our newsletter today. Audioboom has raised a further £1.5 million. That's $2 million in funding. £600,000 of this is from Nick Candy's Candy Ventures, which controls 19.5% of the company. The money will be used for new content acquisitions. If you have a desperate need to watch podcast companies pitch their shows to advertisers, you can watch the videos from last week's Winter Podcast Upfront sessions. Registration is free, and there's also a keynote from Tom Webster in there as well. And the Crossover Media Group is now representing Dr. Laura's Call of the Day, the company has announced. Dr. Laura Schlesinger is a US talk show host, and this podcast is already downloaded more than 2 million times a month. In our newsletter and in our show notes, we mention 4 new podcasts to tell you about, including this one.
Hello, and welcome to How to Be Less Awkward. I'm your host, Laura Murley.
Laura Murley sits down with a guest, generally a fellow comedian, to reveal their most awkward encounters. And it's back for a new series. The description tells us it's cringeworthy, heartwarming, and hilarious.